What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, and just a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with this new news that came out involving Moody cutting the US outlook to negative, how this might end up affecting Tesla and these different tickers. But before I break anything down, let me just say a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. This offer ends in just 5 days. So things are very suspicious in the markets, in my opinion, if you look at how the market moved. As a quick recap, we basically saw the market sell off after Jerome Powell gave his speech and after we got the 30-year auction that came out. And that led to some selling pressure for the markets. Then after that, Friday came and the market started to rally despite some more negative data coming out from Michigan. And despite all of that, when it came to consumer sentiment, etc., despite the negative data, the market continued to rip to the upside. The market closes for Friday. And then right after that, this news came out. Right after close, Moody cuts the US outlook to negative, citing higher interest rates and deficits, as if they intentionally waited to release this news right after market close because Wall Street were the ones shorting, Wall Street were the ones selling up here, and they ended up doing all of that right before the news came out because they knew it was going to come out, right? It's just a possibility, right? I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I did find all of this like really suspicious. So, anyways, I want to now break down some other interesting things about this, right? Market volatility was quite neutral overall, but we saw some of these indicators turn greedy even as soon as Friday. Market momentum turned a bit more greedy. The fear and greed index came very close to neutral as of Friday. I'm recording this late at night on Friday, so that's the reason why. And on top of this, when you look at other things going on, we have CPI coming out for Tuesday. That's going to be very interesting to witness to see how things go. With CPI coming out, I mean, who knows how that's also going to affect us. But as far as things go moving forward, I mean, it's going to be very important that we just continue to look at the different outlooks and etc. But for now, guys, I just wanted to break down that during the after hours, the market is just continuing to sell off, at least for Friday. SPY is still down, Tesla's down too. And it's looking like this news may negatively affect different tickers out there. So why is this so important in case you guys weren't watching my previous video? Credit ratings are very important for lenders. It's going to give them a good idea of how likely it is for them to get their debt repaid and how fast it could be repaid and things like that. And all of that's very important. Now, on top of that, the US is oftentimes looked at as a safe haven for investors all over the world. And for global investors, news like this is just not good. So, seeing this going on with the US's debt continuing to increase, this is leading to less certainty and more fear amongst different investors. And this could be very negative for investments coming to the US and other securities owned by the government. This could have an effect on interest rates. Moody is saying they're hinting at higher interest rates as well, which is not good. And things like this could be bearish for the markets. And I just think that this could lead to a sell-off. So I just want to be very careful. The last time Moody announced that they're going to downgrade the US's credit rating, this caused a big sell-off. Not so big to the point where it was a crash, but it caused the market to drop a few points. We could see SPY start filling some of those gaps. SPY has a gap down at 433, another gap down at 430. It could start filling those gaps, and this news could be the thing that starts it off, kickstarts the bulls to finally get some victories, just temporarily. So it's another possibility. And what else is suspicious is when we pumped, we had is this a triple? I think it's a triple bearish divergence that developed on the chart on SPY. So if we reject here, if we end up breaking below 438, that's going to be confirmation that, yep, it's still happening. And this thing might just continue to sell off even more and more. So it's going to be very important to watch for this. There's going to be a risk of downside. Now, the same thing happened to Tesla. If you look at Tesla on the 4-hour time frame, it was trying to pump, but we hit this resistance right here near this 215 area, which is an intersection between our 20 and 50 EMAs on the 4-hour time frame. That gives some possibility of even more downside. You can see SPY is currently dropping a little bit more. Looking at Aapl, I want to just call out that on the 4-hour time frame, We had a bearish divergence. I don't think we have it anymore. I think we may have invalidated it, but we were basically running on a bearish divergence temporarily. Actually, I'm wrong. I think we still have it. We might still have it. That's very interesting. So we still have this bearish divergence technically. It's very minor though, not as bad on Aapl as it's looking on like SPY and a couple of others. But like once again, we're seeing some similar trends developing on the QQQ. We're also running on another bearish divergence. This is a double, maybe a triple. This is looking like a triple bearish divergence, which is pretty crazy. Typically, when that happens, you're going to be anticipating some downside, and we still have this on the QQQ, so there is a risk for that as well. The SQQQ is up in the after hours. We're going to see if this ends up continuing. We have a bullish divergence on it. Could see more upside. We'll be watching just to be safe. So once again, guys, I mean, SPY is continuing to drop, so all of this is very interesting. I just want to call out a couple of levels. So I'm not going to promise you that the market's going to tank because of this. Let's just be prepared for anything, and then we'll see what levels break just for confirmation. All right, so if we pump, just say there's a miracle or something crazy happens. That's just a joke, by the way. If something insane happens, right, and SPY starts pumping, and SPY starts pumping very, very nicely, we're going to be watching this resistance at this white trend line, which is connected to these previous highs up here. So like right here, we have these previous resistance levels. That's going to take us to 441 at the peak, to almost 442, maybe just under that. That's the peak. If we break this and we get to like the 442 plus area, there's not much resistance until 444, and we could be pumping to 444 as the bullish case. If we're bearish, you want to see it break 438. If we lose that, we're going to start sinking towards 437.5, 436.5, and 435. My gut's telling me we're looking like we might start selling off thanks to the bearish divergences. And because of the fact that this news was suppressed, they just waited till after market close to release it. Makes me suspicious. And I do favor the downside a bit more, but just to be safe, we'll be watching these levels. We'll see which way we break. For Tesla, we're going to be watching resistance at this 215 area. If we break it, watch 216.8 and then 218 as minor resistance, followed by 220. For support, you're going to be watching 212 and then 210. In my opinion, there's a good chance that we might see Tesla retrace a bit because of this news. The algos could take over. Could be watched for that 212 area very, very soon. For the QQQ off the bearish divergence, we could see this thing retrace a bit and make our way back down towards this 376.8 area. If we lose it, 375 could be on the cards, and we could start feeling this imbalance right here. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have potential imbalances, especially if we start sinking. And we have this previous resistance becoming support at 375. So we could be watching on the QQQ if we start selling off. If we try to pump a bit more, we have resistance at 380. The 380 to 381 areas where we have tight resistance, we could reject off that and drop. That's the bullish case. My guts tells me it's going to likely just start sinking from here, but just to be safe, you want to be watching those levels. On Nvda, we have tight resistance. We have some resistance at 485, and if we break above that, the next level to watch for is 488 to 490, because that's where we have historical resistance. And we've seen Nvidia reject off these levels in the past, so we have a lot of chop up here at this 488 area to 490. That's the previous support becoming resistance at 490, then 488. So what I'm thinking is this thing might end up either popping a bit more to 488 to 490, then rejecting and coming back down towards 475, very close to where this imbalance happens to be. Or it just, the top is in and it's just ready to start cooling off. That's another possibility because of this bad news that just came out. Either way, I see some downside most likely being the case, whether it pumps a bit more and then drops or just drops from here. But I think that's very probable. I also want to add that Nvidia has this bearish divergence on the 4-hour time frame. This is looking like a double. So a double bearish divergence, and we also have this. The daily is looking pretty good on Nvidia though, so there's no real confirmation of it breaking down yet, but there is a risk of it because of this bad news. So you just want to be very careful and watch support very, very imminently. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the main 5. Last but not least, we have Aapl coming out. Right now, Aapl is not looking the best. Now, we had a slight bearish divergence, but it's not looking as strong right now. If Apple rejects, I mean, we're going to be watching 185 as support. We actually just broke below 186, so it's starting to show some weakness now in the after hours. Watch 185. If we lose this, we're going to head towards 184, 183.5, and then these lower levels. 182 is a very strong support to watch for too, but there's a risk of some downside on Apple. Make sure you watch 185 on it carefully. It might start selling off a bit more. So the way this whole thing panned out was very suspicious and very crazy. I mean, they just pumped the market like crazy right before this bad news came out. And it just came out right after market close, which is just insane. So I just want everyone to take care. Make sure you know that there's some risk of downside unless we try to continue breaking out. But how would that make any sense? Why would we just keep breaking out when we have such a big piece of news coming out? That would be, unlikely, but it's always a possibility. The best thing to do is watch and see which way we break. The risk is still there, and the odds do favor downside because of this news. But just to be safe, we'll be watching everything very carefully. All right, so I'll be talking more about different tickers like the VIX and dollar and just a few other things to give you more context about these moves for tomorrow's video. But I just wanted to warn you about this as fast as possible because once again, the market is full of manipulation, and this manipulation will affect many different equities throughout the markets. All right, that's it for this one. Thank you for listening. I want to make this one simple, and peace out.